love. It's just me, Emily. Welcome to my podcast where we explore how to discover your soul's purpose, embody your essence, and live a life in alignment with your truth. I am so glad to be back with you guys. I think it's been about 2 months since I've recorded an episode. I spent some time in Bali with my kids, and I just want to share a little bit about that trip before we dive into today's episode. And I want to speak to this because, this trip kind of came about just highly intuitively. I followed the signs. I didn't really know what was there for me. And so I say this because whenever we're in a space of like discovering who we are and what we want in our life, often the signs don't start out like super loud and clear. I remember when after Ian died, someone asked me, what do I want? Well, what's next? And I was like, I have no freaking idea. I don't even know who I am. My whole life is a blank canvas, like no idea even where to start. So if you feel that way, if you're feeling a bit lost and confused, like these subtle whispers that kind of come through for you that might not make any sense at all, they're for you. So listen to them, because I had no idea what was going to be for me in Bali, but I just trusted my gut and I knew that something was there. And that trip was magical. We met so many cool people. I met people who became clients. I met people who became my spiritual guides. The kids and I made memories together. And really, this was all about just reclaiming our little family of 3 and feeling so whole in that family unit and whole in myself. And I came back very clear, knowing that I want to make international travel a very huge part of our life. That knowing is new. I haven't had many things where I'm like, yes, this is a fuck yes for me. I'm all in. How do I manifest this and make it happen as part of our life? And so I say this for any of you who are feeling lost and confused. Just what starts out as a whisper eventually does become like a solid, it becomes a lot louder and it becomes a lot more clear about the things that are meant for you and what's not. So today's episode is giving you a behind the scenes look at the transition that I've been in around my business. So for any of you who are thinking about making a career move, some sort of a big switch in your professional life, this episode is definitely for you, but it can also apply for any major life transition that you're going through. And what does this have to do with your soul's purpose? Well, I believe that the initiations that we go through in our life bring us closer into our truth, whether it's because the universe chooses it for you and you find yourself, like I did as a 32-year-old widow, wondering, how the heck did this happen and fighting it in the beginning. But then by learning how to accept it and find my way forward, I learned who I was and I connected to a deeper truth within me through that initiation, through that threshold moment. Or it's when you're feeling misalignment in your life. That's another cue that, something doesn't fit. And we naturally need to let go of things. We outgrow them, we evolve. And when we don't, we stagnate and we prevent our growth and personal evolution. So these threshold moments are inviting us to cross the threshold, enter into the unknown, to die, and then kind of be reborn as this new version of ourselves on the other side. But basically, when you're feeling this misalignment in your life, I believe that it's a cue. It's kind of like the universe saying, okay, it's time to shed this old identity, this career, this relationship, whatever it may be, for you to be reborn into this next evolution of yourself, of your expression, of your career, whatever it may be. So I have definitely been going through that with my business for the past 1.5 years, you guys. This started back in spring of 2024, where I was feeling genuinely misaligned in my business. The wind had left my sail. I was like, I really don't want to be talking about grief and loss and my husband's death anymore. I don't even know if I should be a coach or a healer. I had all of these questions. And so if you go back to the very first podcast, I actually dive deep into what that process was like. But what I want to tease out for you is that this is the moment where you're kind of circling the edge of a big decision. And it's really hard to discern what is intuition, what is conditioning, and what is fear, right? So something that I do with my clients in my new one-on-one coaching mentorship called Thresholds, which is all about navigating these major life transitions, is helping you get clear on which of those voices is truly your own. Intuition is often felt in the body, and it's more of a whisper. It kind of comes to us very softly. And if it's truly intuition, it'll return to you time and time again. So it's not going to be like the answer is loud and clear. It's going to often be more subtle. So my invitation is to, if you're hearing the whisper, just listen to it and hold it lightly. And just pay attention and continue to listen until you're ready to make a decision. When you're trying to discern if it's your voice or if it's your conditioning, typically we have like two parts that are at odds against one another. We have one part that's saying, go take the leap, and the other part saying like, this is irresponsible, it's unsafe. So when you're at this point, when you're circling the edge, there's a lot of different voices. And so what I try to do with my clients is I try to understand like, what is each of the voices saying? And then we can kind of discern through somatic work if it's your voice or if it's someone else's. So if you have a voice saying, this is irresponsible, you need to be thinking about your family, it's selfish of you to want to go after your passions and desires. Typically, that's probably not your own voice, but sometimes it's hard to know. So I have you close your eyes, we go in, we figure out where that voice kind of lives in your body, and we can untangle, is this actually your voice or somebody else's? And the same goes with fear. Fear is often very much in our mind, and intuition and trust is in our body. But a great way to tell if it's like fear or if it's actually something that's meant for you is you can close your eyes. And again, this is something I guide my clients through. You can kind of like think of the next, like think of your life and think of the situation you're in. So for instance, I would be in the same like grief coaching work or with widows that I was doing. And I close my eyes and I think in the next 5 years, is this where I want to be? And in my body, if it feels expansive, that's like a yes, this is where I want to be. If it's a contraction, it's more of a no, like no. And then the reason that I was even considering staying would then be linked to fear. It's safe, it's predictable, right? I don't have to go into the unknown. So those are just some like basic tips for discerning the different voices in terms of circling the edge of a big decision. And, after working with some clients in terms of like leaving their relationships or their jobs, often the anticipation around making the decision is way worse than when you actually make the decision. So like once you make the decision, you feel relief and it's like, okay, what's next? Here we go into the void. So that was kind of what my process looked like when I was trying to decide, do I stay, do I leave, or do I stay? And what I did is I gave myself a little bit of a parameter. I said, okay, I'm going to take the summer off to just kind of soul search and figure it out. So if you want to go back and check that first episode out, I talk all about the different like tools and teachers who I worked with that year to kind of help me understand my soul's purpose. But basically what came from that soul searching period was that I got some answers. I found out that I'm definitely destined to be a coach, a healer, a guide, some sort of a visionary. I love ideas. I love speaking about them. Like my modes of expression are very much writing and storytelling and working with people. That gave me like evidence that I was on the right track in that department. But I still didn't exactly know. I still didn't have the answer questioned around, okay, well, then what does this mean around the body of work that I'm creating? Because I don't want to be talking about widowhood and grief anymore. And I still was unsure about what was this next new body of work that was meant to be birthed through me. So around the fall, I started feeling a lot of pressure around this. And so when you're in the void, again, naming that you're in the void and knowing it is really important because the void is going to be confusing. It's going to be disorienting. Often, though, we end up beating ourselves up for feeling confused when being confused is actually a privilege. Like you get to figure all of this out. When you think of self-actualization and where it falls on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's like at the very top. Like it is such a gift to be able to do this work. So bringing yourself back into gratitude and noticing how good we really have it, like can help stop the spiral, take off the pressure, and remind yourself that you're good, you've got this. Like being on a quest to find your soul's purpose is like such a joy, truly. So a reminder there too is like, one, it's a gift. Two, take the pressure off. Being in the void really does require full surrender and trust. And by surrender, I don't mean like not doing anything. It just means releasing attachment to the outcome. And I was kind of in and out. Like and I call this like purgatory. Like I was in the bardo, the death bed, the void, but I was still trying to keep like one foot out. I was still kind of attached to, I need to figure out the answer now because I need to launch a program. I need to make money, right? Like that was all very ego driven and scarcity driven. You can kind of hear that. And, in hindsight, it's much more clear than it was during the time. So that's actually when I launched this podcast, which is fine. Some of this takes experimentation, but I also launched some other programs that you might have seen for just like a moment, and then I burned it all down. And here's why. Because also in the fall, I was, trying to launch programs and I was still very much in the inquiry of like, what the fuck am I doing? So I also started working with a mentor called, her name is Sarah Jenks, and she is a priestess, and we did a lot of work around soul journeys. I had done a lot of work in the mental realm over the summer with the gene keys and astrology and different tools that I had learned in my Dharma coaching certification program, but I hadn't really dabbled in the soul realm. So this ceremony work was amazing because I would go into these spaces where we'd play with an archetypal frequency and I would connect to the divine, aka my soul, and get these amazing visuals around like what I am meant to do here. And so I decided after that I signed on for a year-long training to become a certified temple guide, where I am also bringing this ceremonial work into my container so that my clients can connect with their soul to help them uncover what their soul's purpose is. But I'll just let you in on one of the stories. During one of the ceremonies in January of this year, we were in a ceremony around our soul's purpose, and all of this death imagery came up. Like literally there were snakes slithering around in it. There were black candles. In one of the images I saw, I was holding a staff with a skull on its head. And I'm just thinking, oh man, like, damn it, I do not want to be doing anything more with death. Like, what is this all about? And I had just launched a program that was very much not about death. It was all just about like, maximizing your potential. It was called Meant for More. And so I'm kind of looking at both of these things that are going on in my life and just trying to hold it all lightly. And long story short, I trusted what my soul had to say. And I ended up just totally taking the whole program down. It was there for like a couple of weeks and then it disappeared. And I went home and I started developing a body of work around death. And it took me a while. And so this is what I want you to know when you're kind of in this space of like almost being on the rise, right? You're kind of in the void. You're not quite in full rebirth. I'd say this is like where you're kind of like the seedling, kind of busting through the dirt, is that sometimes it takes a little bit of experimentation, right? Like we can take all of the different tools, mental, somatic, emotional, and spiritual, like I did, and try to connect the dots and figure it out. But that can almost hold us back from doing the thing. Sometimes we need to experiment, like I say, throw a little paint on the canvas and see what kind of masterpiece, what type of artwork comes into fruition. And that's what this stage is all about. So I'd say like the third stage where you're kind of on the rise is about experimentation and then embodiment. I'll get into embodiment in a second. Now, experimentation, especially in terms of business, can be expensive. And so I made a lot of like costly mistakes. And then you can't see me on the audio, but if you're watching me, like there are mistakes, but they weren't. Like they were just feedback, right? Like the failure was the feedback that I needed to be like, ooh, like how can I tweak this a little bit more so that it feels more in alignment, right? So that's very much what this like next stage was about. And then I would say that right now, so that was about like 6 months of experimenting. You saw a lot of the things that I've been launching. I launched the Wake Up Call, which was all about your, contemplating your mortality through this deathbed visualization. I'll actually link it in the show notes because I'm still running it. I launched this thresholds program that I'm talking about right now, which is all about the alchemy of death and when we need to let go of something in order to be reborn and rise more aligned and in our truth. And then I also have the YOLO year, which will be launching soon later this year. So I've really like fine-tuned and played around with it. And I finally now, after, this is eight months of this year, am feeling really like confident and steady, not just in my soul's purpose being a healer, but around like my messaging and what's this next body of work. So I'm very excited about that. But I've also been in this final stage. So this final stage of rebirth is really about embodiment. It's about looking at this initiation and seeing, who am I becoming as a result of this? Like, what has this initiation been all about? Who am I being reborn into? And if there is this like future self that I'm needing to kind of step into, what are these like little twiggly danglers that I need to just lay to rest and finally die? And for me, this has again been connected to my core wound of unworthiness. This is the same wound that I talked about a year ago when I discovered my essential self. But these wounds go so deep. And I saw again and again this past year how there was this part of me that was just trying to try to launch the perfect program, to have it figured all out, because a deep, wounded little girl inside of me believed that her worth was tied to her business being a success. And that if her business was failing, then she was a failure too. So I have met this wound time and time again, and I'm still in the initiation. I can feel it in my body when I am trying to launch my business from a place of lack versus a place of love. When it feels ego-driven, like I need to get this done because I need to have the clients and I need to make money. And if I don't, then I'm a failure. I'm a failure, right? That's shame. That's shame right there. Versus, it's okay. I have a lot of time to bring this vision to life. Like, I know who I am, I know where I'm going, and I love myself. So when Ian died, it was the first time that everything I thought I needed to feel joy, love, safety, and liberation, it was all stripped away from me. And I had to figure out, how can I not just accept the life that I have right now, but learn to truly fall in love with it, laugh again, right? And make the most of it. And it was in that moment of all of my attachments being stripped away from me that I realized, like, oh, I can be my best lover. I can be my own best friend. We can be whole as a family of three. And again, like I met that again just recently in Bali. I choose the outcome. All of these feelings that I thought I needed outside me actually exist within me. And that's been like the most, that was what that first initiation, besides just finally figuring out who I am and what my purpose was, it was like walking away and seeing that I'm the one I've been waiting for. I just get to decide if my life is going to be abundant or if it's going to be poor. It's all just through the lens that I see it. What I've learned recently, though, with my business is that this same lesson applies, but in reverse. I thought I needed Ian to make me feel love and joy and liberation and safety, right? But then I had to learn how to access them for myself. Well, we go after these things in life, our passions, our pursuits. And yes, they absolutely bring us a lot of joy and fulfillment in life. But somewhere along the lines, we get so attached to the outcome and we believe that we need our business to take off in order to feel a certain way, in order to feel like we're enough, in order to feel like we're financially free, in order to feel that we're safe. And we subconsciously equate these feelings with these external outcomes. You see this a lot with money, where people like literally they believe that their life is at stake if they don't have a certain amount of money in the bank account. For me, it looked like I'm not worthy. I'm not enough. I'm a failure, right? If my business doesn't succeed. And of course, these are so subconscious. So that's why doing this with someone to help guide you and to like point out these subconscious beliefs and where you might be blocking yourself is so key. I couldn't have done this work alone. But this last part of this has been really reminding myself that like if my business were to fail, and I do visualizations around this, I think about like my business never making any money and me going and getting a traditional 9-to-5 job. And I think I'd be okay. Like I'm enough. I'm good. I've got me. My worth isn't dependent on an external outcome. None of these feelings are. We get to have them right now. We get to choose them right now. Your worth, your love, your safety, your liberation, and your joy. We are that freaking powerful. And so that has been the last initiation, the embodiment piece. I'm still very much in it. I run up against it almost every day. So yeah, the last stage of this journey is truly about embodiment. All right, so just to recap, threshold journey. You're circling the edge of it, trying to discern what's my voice, what's fear, what's intuition. And then you make a decision, which you feel relief, like just you're at peace with the decision. And then you go into the void. The void can be a very long period of time. For me, it's been about 1.5 years. Okay. These threshold moments they're long when you're talking about death, divorce, career pivot, right? It's full death and rebirth. These take time. So take your time, pressure off. It's okay to be confused. The journey is a privilege. The rebirth moment is a lot about experimentation. You might have some clarity around what your soul's purpose is. What's this next initiation that you're being guided to? And it's okay to experiment before you have it all figured out. Often you won't have it figured out. We need to put stuff out there. We need to fail. We need to get the feedback. New pathways will open. It's more information. And then the final stage of this rebirth is really about embodiment and seeing what was this initiation to begin with and who do I need to become? What do I need to finally lay to rest in order to be this next evolved version of me that the universe has been guiding me to step into? So, like I said, the first threshold I crossed with Ian's death was all about like discovering who I am beyond the roles of wife, of mom, of realizing that I have a gift with words, with storytelling, with my ideas, with healing people, and that is a part of my purpose. And yeah, I didn't really trust it the first time around because it all just happened. And that's what this second initiation of pivoting my business has really been about. I've come into a new layer of understanding what the whole reason behind I'm here is all about, and learning how to birth a whole new body of work around it in the process, and really just meeting this core wound that I didn't really know existed 6 years ago when Ian died. This has been like a whole new initiation for me, is really looking at this wound of self-worth and learning to love myself each and every day, and launching this business from a place of nothing but pure love, from being in the heart. So this is the work that I do in my one-on-one mentorship, Thresholds, which I just launched like a month ago. There's only a few spots open. This is, you can navigate these thresholds alone. You absolutely can. But what I have found, when you do, there's a cost, right? You end up spiraling in that doubt of uncertainty. You end up beating yourself up for not having the answers or for rushing the process, thinking something is wrong with you because, the void is really confusing when, again, it's not. It's like this space of infinite possibility. What Thresholds is all about is not necessarily collapsing any timelines. You don't really know how long these transitions are going to take. It's more about how you feel as you navigate them. Instead of feeling uncertain and in self-doubt and causing a lot of unnecessary suffering, my work is about helping you feel held and empowered, helping you reflect back kind of what you're saying and helping you connect the dots as you figure out who you are, giving you tools, insights, resources, and guides that have all helped me sort through like, what is intuition? What is my conditioning? What is the next step, right? And just holding your hand through the process. And sometimes you discover things that are a little bit scary. You're like, wow, like I have been living as a accountant and what I really want to do is be a rock star. And that's like, oh my God, that's scary AF, right? So having someone there to encourage you, to remind you that like, yes, this is your truth, this is your power, and you can actually do this. And here are the tools, here is the way, how to handle criticism from others, from Debbie Downers, from people who are going to throw shade your way and say, that's crazy. I have had to my parents have been incredibly supportive, but there's been times where they're like, "Oh, are you sure about this?" And again, remembering that like it's not so much what other people are saying about you and your journey, it's you and your own judgments, and remembering that you are literally the only one who is standing in your way. That's what this is about. So having someone to just get you back on track, to access your knowing, your truth, and to manifest it, to make it happen every single step of the way. That's what Thresholds is all about. So if you're interested in joining me, the link is in my show notes. I just have a few more spots open for this round. And then I will be launching more of my new programs around the medicine of death and how to turn your life into a living work of art, how to take the mess, the disappointments, the failures, and turn it into a masterpiece. That's really what this whole new evolution of my work is about. I'm so excited to share it with you. And thank you guys for being here on the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. Please share it with your friends. I feel so energized about where this is going. And I just hope that you join me for the ride because this is just the beginning. So sending lots of love and light your way. And I will see you guys in another episode soon. Thank you so much for listening in to It's Just Me, Emily. I hope that you enjoyed the show. If you did, it would be a great honor if you could subscribe and then leave a review. And if you do so, I will send you a beautiful hardback copy of my book, Love and Grief, to the first 20 people who subscribe and leave a review. When you do that, it just helps my podcast get boosted and more people will be able to come in and view the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you in another episode.